Morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Just a little bit of admin first. There are tickets available. There's vendors on the table making staff or help yourself outside. We'll start with some beer and wine. There is an open bar after the formalities are done. There's a tap on the bar, so we'll let you know when that's done, but please go ahead. If you want to have any cocktails or shooters, unfortunately for your own account. We're going to start in about 15 minutes. There's a few people who are going to say a few words. And when the formalities are done, we'll be able to feed. Everyone there? So there'll be some tuppers and then slices of pizza, teas, make yourself comfortable and good with us. For the smokers, you know the draw by now, no smoking inside. So half of you I'm sure will be out in the road shortly. And next to the photo we had on the bar are some bookmarks. Feel free to help yourself. There aren't many, so if you can maybe look at you one, put a couple in, and if there's any left after, please go in. In about 15 minutes we'll start with speeches, so please get a drink and be comfortable.
It's live you have to speak to here because that's his wheelhouse. But I'm gonna have a backup recording of it there. So I'm gonna have a recording here and a recording here, and then it's like family discussion. Thanks, man. Anytime.
Guys, best have a few minutes. So start to pray. We're all done. The mic will be there. If anyone wants to say anything, please go ahead. Open floor. If you'd like to share a few words, you're more than welcome. Okay, we're going to start with Hey, we're going to start with Wait. Lectures are busy very much. I made a joke this morning when I walked in the city. No one is
Looking at my signals, it's Only when you stand there, some friends,
we try this.
mine.
Strong.
Like so much hello, someone.
Is this better? Yeah. I looked at everybody this morning when I came in and I said to my family, I realized my dad, not bad. And three things going to happen. We were dating something about his character. I was going to say, oh, something I didn't do. His dad became a friend of everybody. You meet you once and the next thing you tell somebody, I have a friend. And we started talking about his friend that he just met, also a Christian, also a Christian restaurant. I'm the eldest of the four. I was the one that 2 weeks ago called us into the house. He was sent to the other kids. I want to talk to my first baby. Never have a shit. Never have Christmas. Obviously something in his life state. So let me tell you about my day. I have to write a couple of notes because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things I want to remember. So Dad and I had a love-hate relationship. As most children probably do with their parents. At times they irritate me. And meanwhile, when you stand back and you look as you get older, you realize, well, what's actually me? I'm the one that's irritated. It's not them that's irritated me. And you grow through that process. So Dad grew up before these houses. Before contact phones. Before cell phones. Before seatbelts. Before portable TVs. Before portable radios. Before self-storage, before power steering, before LEDs, before motion detectors, before electric bicycles, before electric razors. My dad used to tell us stories that I grew up with presents. Parents used to take you to the shop once a week. Remember those glass cabinets? Oil little sweets and diggables and everything in. And they were allowed a certain amount of pocket money and they could choose something out of there. That's what my dad told me stories. I remember stories of sitting on the stoop on a wine farm where his parents were managers. I remember Dad's dad and sister that always playing master and always doing contentious stories. I remember Dad's dad always saying to me, Omar, is it called buck juice? Buck juice was the juice that was left after the meal was cooked. Then they would dip his bread. My dad learned from that always that any meal you make has to have sauce with it. My dad loved food. That's why we took the photograph on him. Nothing made him happy. Because he took to be on it, and he went back and asked for seconds. Or you finished the bowl and there was nothing left. You did the games, nothing left for somebody else. That was my way. I said we have a love-hate relationship. It's also the ugly side of God. So the good side, but I saw the ugly side. As a fellow children when you grow up, you see things like what alcohol does to you. Mood swings, sarcastic remarks, unnecessary taunting. As we all of that point, don't try to grow as if I look back biblically, I look back at the things of my dad and I think, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they say when you have alcohol, the real you comes out. And when you're under pressure, the real you comes out. And I remember things about my dad now as I've matured and I think back, I think, I never saw his father love him. I never saw his father get in my heart or affirm him as a man. I never saw his father tell me he was proud of him. So when we grew up, we never had that privilege. I never had the privilege of my dad telling me he was proud of me. So what happens to you in life is that you become a member of you. So you prove to yourself that you must, and you think harder, and you think harder, and study harder. Because you just want to prove to yourself that you're good, okay. And as Dad matured, life started to change, and then he comes and he tells you, well done. I am proud of my son, I have told me my son understands in my childhood, and I never said to you, I'm proud of you. And with that, suddenly everything is erased. All the negativity is erased, and we go back to being the young boy or the young girl. And then that's it. I'm going to share something like that spirituality. Some of them were later. So I'll tell you, we grew up with actually had a child. We actually went to the camps. We went to those other places like Suffolk. Your friends, I don't even know how they took in the picture. They came along, and I remember something about a river, and I remember something about false teeth being missing, and we as kids coming in the river trying to find these false teeth. I remember getting up on Easter weekend and the Ludwig, very influential in my life. They don't speak German, so he and I would speak German, and he was telling me secrets that he didn't want the other kids to know. And it's our secrets. He would do something for you, and he would say something, don't take praise. Because I'm so sorry, it's not just a connection. I remember some falling influence sounded like relative opposite the front home. Which used to be advertising. I wrote that both advertises this intuition of the person of material. And there's all the details, how dark it is, there's no lights, and so they can keep it up and so every year. Us information. They used to tell us, so when we went to Molten Dam, one winter change, I was putting two bricks in TPI, and suddenly Chantal was straight to the face of the game. I ran in the water, saved her. I remember being in the river. We were all swimming on the other side of the river, Dad and Mom and all the friends camping on this side, and the next thing, kids floating on the river. I was diving and going to be gold tomato because Dad's friend died there and he was full of bullets. I him around the one side, him around the other side, trying to get to the middle. He's been cut to pieces. I'll save my 2 sisters. I remember Fellini's farm. I remember Campus Paradise. I remember the doll's house, and Spotted Dog, and Harlequins. I remember the Sky View, the Goodwood driving. I remember Freedom Road driving. I remember playing with Dad and Mom and 2,000 kids squished into a car. I don't know where now. Under blankets and to make the car stopped and really popped out like popcorn. But we were a family. We didn't always have money, but we had family. We had good family values. We had good family memories. I remember on Sunday night sitting around the table, we had a child in Tilly. And Tilly loved us so much, she adopted us so much. She was Tilly Julie's and she became Tilly Maasch. Tilly sat around the table with us with a pen and paper, and everybody got to write what they wanted for the week. So on Monday night, somebody wanted macaroni, on Wednesday somebody wanted fish. So we all got to eat around the table and we all got to share. I remember the Solana Bay Hotel. I remember the telephone exchange from across the road with the door open. We're looking for the bag, you phone, and she looks out the window and she says, "You're passing me. Try the week is fine." I remember driving with Dad again to the very day Hotel, to the Bridgestone Hotel, into the Hopefield Hotel, staying in the Kimberley wagon wheel. There were small things in it. I remember the good times we shared. Dad being a German, he anticipates now. So you'd walk in and somebody would give him 20 minutes. Just tell you exactly what he thinks of them and then walk away. It's just the way it was. You came stick with him, whether you liked it or not. Now let me tell you a little bit about bloodline. How does bloodline work? The Bible talks about bloodline. The Bible talks about the blessing of God that comes through generations. And I don't know what Dad's bloodline did. But I saw certain character traits in Dad. And I saw certain things in Dad which I did wrong. So when Dad got high blood pressure, Dad got cholesterol, looked like Jesus. We got Las Vegas veins. All those things, I went to God and I said, I can cut my blood. I don't want to. So I cut the blood of my finger. But it jumped a generation. And it can do it. So unfortunately, something I siblings and everything all of those, I didn't get it. Having said that, your character is formed around the way that you were raised. So the Dad not being loved, thanks very much. I don't think he understood what we as children were. Because when you look at your children, you make a decision and say, I've never raised my children. So you make an inner vow. And you try your best to give your best. Because that's all you know. Because your dad was like, and he's so to change the way you act when you grow up as a parent, says train the child in way in the ways they should go. When he gets old, like the home. Proverbs says, my son, listen to these teachings. So there is an instruction. I remember driving to Cape Town with Anna Marie and Dad. I wanted to come to Cape Town. I used to work somewhere. When I came back from flights, we don't like my brothers. Please, when you drive, so you can relax. I had a pot of coffee and sleeping tablets. And then we coffee, we're driving along. Oh, everybody wakes up. She says, so keep it eating. Have some more coffee. Offer you both of best. I said, have some more coffee. Next thing we were in Cape Town, they never slept in the car. Slept all the way to Cape Town. Lovely trip. Okay, I think we mean last week. I meant it. I'm glad they got to sleep into relax. My dad didn't ever tell me that I can remember all things. Maybe he told us. I don't remember him ever telling me he loves someone. I do remember him giving us gifts. Because that was my dad's love language. My dad would give you something to tell you how much he appreciates it. I do remember my dad phoning his mom every day, giving the big signal. I do remember as he got older, his favorite song was The Goodness of God. If you know those words, it says, all my life you've been faithful. All my life you've been good to me. My dad taught me to steal. So again, my dad taught me to steal with your eyes. You used to do things by watching people do it, and you said to me, you can do that. This is how you make trifling. Our trifling was always Granny's trifling. But if you wanted to stay, watch how somebody else does it. Then you come over and you try it. You wanted to do today, watch how somebody else does it, and you come over and do it. I remember as kids, we looked into the stuff. I remember we were allowed to go into there, on the floor in front of the radio. I remember listening to the Mind of Tracy Dark. I remember listening to Dix and Kowalski, Tinkle Bates, then from the nursery. I remember big foods in the lounge. It made such a freaking noise. Those long stained steel fridges plucked with all wine bottle stickers. My dad always loved the party. Everybody was coming to our house. He always wanted people at our house. Didn't want to go out. I remember Christmas beds, because there was never enough place to sleep. Everybody had a bed, everybody had a mattress, everybody was on the floor. You walk in the morning, you don't even know half the people. In our house, we were the first one to have a TV installed. Black and white TV, like loud buttons. And we sat there watching that test program until it started. I think it was 2.5 hours. The only program we really enjoyed was that It Is Enough. And then we got another TV, we got a salon. Just as today. I remember Mom and Dad having Gomma lounge. And you remember those? You sat so low on the ground you couldn't get up. You needed somebody to get you up. A shaggy, dark, orange carpet. I remember Peter Canals and Turkey Rico and Lemon Twist. John Player's Special Cigarettes. I remember the Saldana Hotel. The Reapers Hotel. So again, to go back to my dad's furniture, my dad used to say to all his friends, I
I'll never reach 70. Boys, you know, I'm going to be gone at 70. One day driving to Swellendam, we're looking up, driving to Swellendam, I said to God, I said, Dad, you need to remember God's going to hold you till you 70. So you won't see 70. You make me stop the car. I said to you, what do I need to do? I said, we need to ask God to completely break that first. The Bible says there's power in the thunder. So he broke the verse. I led him through a prayer. Got on the plane the next day. We lived in London. Flew back to London. And sitting there, phoned him just after midnight. Phoned him, you call. His birthday. Phoned him just after midnight. He said, you're still here. You made it. You broke the curse. And that started a good relationship between them. Then I got to lead him to the Lord and to break the curse. The Freemasonry he was involved in broke that curse. And then 2 weeks ago he asked me, he said to me, I'm tired when I'm old. I want to go home. I read in the Bible, what does the Bible say about being old? David was 70 when he died. The Bible says he died an old man. Dad was 89. Lived for 32,487 days. My question is, what impact did you make? What did you do with your life? That today people all stand and talk about the big thing. If your dad was good to you, if your dad was bad to you, you still have the choice to choose. You still have the choice to make a decision whether what good memories or not. I want to tell you, we grew up rich. We never had money, we had fun. Eaten at the table. We laughed together, we cried together, we fought together. As all families did. But we always came back to the track. Family is family. Thank you for sharing today with us. So that we can get to remember my dad, and your grandpa. And every morning, I ask her out to you because we too were too boys in love together. So we bless you today. Mind if I say a prayer? Father God, thank you for your blessing and your kindness and your goodness to us. Thank you, Lord, that we can get to celebrate Dad's legacy that he left behind for us. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the character that this comes moments. Thank you, Lord, that your love for us is so important. We get to know you because we're going to see what happened in the sea of God. The tribe is blessed. Father, that you bless us. You heal us. Pain, shame, resentment, broken emotions, broken promises. These are the things that we said as many of the last school they go, the word says that you comfort us, Lord, and remind us of the good, remind us of the blessing. In Jesus' name. Before I forget, I just want to my dad bought my mom a chocolate every night, whole nut chocolate, which she hated. So of course we ate. And a liter of orange juice every night. That's how I remember my dad.
We're going to take a 5-minute break and then Daniel will say a few words.
I'm just hoping we should have a microphone. It's a little bit. I mean, like a it's ask them to hold the close and just ensure I can't really do much about it. And a lot of background noise because if I wanted the micros for the wall, basically, I try to agree with this. But the power of the people very sharp. I'm not asking you that you're concerned it's not too bright. No, I'd rather move this and move everything. So, I mean, people's capacity to be hard. I'm going to ask you here to finish this right. Sorry, you mean the line now? Point to the wrist.
Folks, can you come back in? We want to continue. David? Carry on. Can share in a few minutes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David, grandson of Johann Maasch. I stand before you today with a heavy heart. My home was does the house. It's all of us in farm base and that wasn't going to forget. My dad was a stone man, and he had an author about it. His wisdom, warmth, and his natural knowledge respect. He did it in a beautifully gentle way. I can't recall my grandfather ever having to raise his voice, and it's because he didn't have to. He was a leader that people naturally gravitated towards him because he led by example. He didn't want to shout to get his point across, because if he did as he did, you could almost be certain that you were doing it right. One of the things I miss the most is sitting around the fire with a mom. He'd turn and he'd say, "So Davey, what's news, my pal?" Now normally, that's the common way in South Africa to start on the job. Not with my mom. When he asked you that question, his eyes would light up and he'd shut out the rest of the water. Just so he could focus on you. He wouldn't just hear you, he'd listen to you. He'd never pretend to know something that he didn't, and he was never scared to stop you, to tell you when he didn't know something and ask you to explain it to him. His legendary wisdom was a byproduct of his extraordinary humility. In his career in the refrigeration industry, he was a titan and he was revered by everyone. Over the last week or so, I've had the opportunity to read some things that people have had to say about my grandfather. I worked with him over the years. One of the recurring themes is that Johann was a teacher and a mentor. It was in his nature to learn and then softly disseminate as much of that knowledge as far and as wide as he possibly could. There was never an agenda with hope. He just wanted to enrich as many people as he possibly could with the right thing to do. Hope was guardian and a protector of his people. My grandfather lived up the road from my parents here in Maasch, and I fondly remember stories of my dad traveling out of the country for work and hearing stories of Opa driving to my parents' house every few days. Just to ring the doorbell and check in on my mother and see if she needed anything. He could have called. So for him, going the extra mile to drive down the road to ask her in person was just what he did. Now that in itself may seem like something small, but it's how he approached all things in life. He did the right thing, and most of the time, he would go above and beyond. I recall stories of his younger years where Opa would host legendary brides at his house, and where he had enough, he would attempt an Irish goodbye, speaking or sneaking away to his bedchambers. He knew that by his very nature, people would quickly notice the absence of his presence and begin the search to resurrect him and bring him back to the bride. He knew that one of the first places people would look was in his bedroom. In his infinite wisdom, he would cunningly lock his bedroom door and retire under his bed, for he knew people would look through the bed window to try and find him. Opa did not go quietly. Trying to convince him to stay at home and rest was like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. That man would get in his car, go to Woolies to go and replenish his sweet supply, and in doing so, he'd score some exceptional tries that Brian and Brenda would be proud of. Made him a regular starting fixture at the local hospital, which he garnered a very large fan base in the nurses and doctors, because everywhere Opa goes, so follows love and admiration. My dad told me that people have approached him in an attempt to console him and say, well, Johann's at peace now and he's in heaven. To which my dad would reply and say, no, he's not. Along the way, he's stopping off at all his children to have a dog and say goodbye. If that's true, by my judgment, and by the length of that line that all the people have to go and say goodbye to, you'll still be busy by the time most of us have kicked the bucket. Opa, there's a big hole and some impossibly big shoes to fill. But in doing so, you've left behind a clear and bright guiding light for all of us. We will never forget your infectious laugh. You lived a life built on a cornerstone of love. The world's a better place because of you. We love you and we'll never forget you. You'll live in our hearts forever. Rest easy, Opa.
Is it alright for this video to hand you more? I'm still giving you feedback. What do you think? Otherwise, I'll ask the speakers to start with. Less than 9 biggest thing. Yeah, it's not like you can throw into the cameras.
Goeiemôre almal. Verstaan my net dat ek Afrikaans praat, want as ek Engels praat, gaan ek so iets uitdraai. So Engels is nie my sterkpunt nie. Ek is Lauren, ek is kleindogter van oupa Johann Maasch. Ek voel baie bevoorreg om vandag 'n paar woorde met my oupa te kan deel. Vir my was oupa iemand met 'n ongelooflike mooi hart. Hy was 'n liefdevolle en barmhartige mens wat altyd na ander omgesien het. Maak nie saak hoe sy eie dag verloop het nie, hy altyd 'n glimlag op sy gesig gehad. Ek het iets positiefs daar gesien. Hy het nooit gekla nie en het alles met liefde gedoen. Van my mooiste herinneringe toe ons klein was, is ons kuiers in die Kaap. Elke keer as ons Kaap toe gegaan het, het ek uitgesien om by oupa en ouma te gaan kuier. Oupa was mal daaroor om kos te maak. En ek sal altyd die lekker kleef onthou wat hy kos gemaak het. Toe Leeming eindelijk gebore is, het oupa sommer vir hulle 'n spesiale bynaam gegee. Leem was sy klonkie. En hy was sy prinsesie. Dit het net teëgewys hoe lief hy vir sy agterkleinkinders was. Ek het byna elke week met oupa gesels. Hy was altyd daar met 'n gebed, 'n boodskap van bemoediging, 'n lag, 'n gejuich of weerop. Hy het altyd saam met ons bly geraak oor die klein en groot oomblikke. As ek vir hom van leer op aan die betaal het, het hy altyd saam gejuich. Aan die einde van sy boodskappe het hy altyd gesê, stuur swinkies en groot drukkies vir my klokkie en prinsessie. En stuur groete en liefde vir die onmiddellike man van jou. Etienne, lief julle. Dit is moeder wat ek altyd sal koester. Hy het my geleer om positief te bly en altyd die goeie mense en omstandighede raak te sien. Een van die dinge wat ek die meeste van oupa sal onthou, is hoe hy altyd eers na sy kinders, kleinkinders en familie opgesien het. Oupa was ongelooflik lief vir sy familie. Dit kan ek verseker sê, want hy het vir my elke dag gebel, net om in te check hoe dit gaan. En ek is seker hy dieselfde met ander gedoen. Die oupa, toe ons vir oupa vertel dat Etienne vir 'n breinoperasie moes gaan in die Kaap, dit was 2020. Oupa en ouma het dadelik aangebied dat hulle sal hom help met vervoer om hom veilig by die hospitaal in die Kaap te kry. Toe Etienne in die Kaap aangekom het oupa en ouma hom by die lughawe gemaak. Nou ja, hulle het mekaar eers vir amper 'n uur lank gesoek. Ek dink hulle het sommer die hele lughawe deurgekom voordat hulle mekaar uiteindelik nageloop. Want toe hulle mekaar eers kry, was alles weer reg. Daarna het hulle saam by Ocean gaan eet. Toe Etienne wou betaal, het oupa hom dadelik gekeer en gesê, wil jy met 'n blou oog by die hospitaal aankom? So, daar was glad nie sprake daarvan dat iemand anders as oupa sou betaal nie. Dit was net wie hy was. Hy het met soveel liefde gegee en altyd vir sy mense gesorg. Hulle het vir Etienne ook 'n hotel geboek met 'n amazing view wat uitkyk op die see. Die volgende dag het hulle Etienne hospitaal toe geneem. Dit is net die oupa was. Hy het altyd sy tyd, liefde en hulp met oop hande gegee. Selfs tydens COVID, toe ons Kaap toe wou kom vir Gogo se 80ste verjaarsdag, was oupa bekommerd dat ons veilig moes wees. Daarom het hy vir ons 'n mooi hotel bestreek, sodat ons gemaklik en veilig kon bly. Dit wys net weer hoe hy altyd aan ander gedink het, voordat hy aan ons gedink het. Sy liefde was nie net iets wat hy gesê het nie, dit was iets wat hy elke dag gewys het in sy woorde. Die grootste nalatensstap wat oupa op ons gelos het, is nie net die herinneringe wat ons kan afgekeer, maar die liefde waaroor hy geleef het, en die manier waarop hy na mense omgesien het. Dit is 'n voorbeeld wat ons almal saam met hom sal dra. Oupa, dankie vir jou liefde. Jou gebeure. Jou wysheid en al die mooie herinneringe wat jy ons gegee het. Dankie dat jy altyd daar was. Dat jy ons laag het en dat jy ons onvoorwaardelik liefgehad het. Hulle is sag, oupa. Ons gaan jou glimlag, jou liefde en jou positiewe gees ongelooflik baie is. Maar ons is so dankbaar dat ons die voorreg gehad het om jou as ons oupa te kon hê. Tot ons hier ontmoet, ons is baie lief vir oupa en oupa sal altyd in ons harte bedank. Dankie julle.
Ek is leuk. Een klein soort van Johann van pa, ek het baie woorde sê nie, ek sê ek wil net oor bedankings te doen. So, ek wil eerste vir almal wat van ver af gekom het, sê baie dankie en die mense wat meeting gedoen het, ek is waarderend. Dan vir dokters, voorziener en medestemming en hulle personeel vir na opbouw gesien het en so daar het gesê, my ons maak gereelde klein daar, so baie dankie aan hulle, vir afbop wat opbouw gevat het en so, en dan vir Linkie, so van die restaurant in Beach, vir al die redings en die venue en die eetvoete wat ons gaan kry, baie dankie vir al jou redings en moeite, en dan Steelman voorheen van FNB, jy is maar gereeld kliënte met naamlik my pa is huis gewees en kyk mooi na hulle geldsaak en staan altyd hulle by en ek dink jy is maar vir hulle op so'n seën in huis gewees die laaste week, baie dankie vir jou moeite en ondersteuning. Dan is my ma, dankie vir mama's redings en alles wat mama doen en dat mama aan die agtergrond doen met al die goed om alles in plek te kry. En dan wil ek vir Wilna of Willie, soos my ook altyd gesê het, dankie vir jou vir die laaste ruk wat jy altyd daar was vir uitpaak. Jy het altyd laat laag en die vader gehad in die kreatieve kant om uit te bring. En alles wat hy aangepak het, was jy altyd daar saam met hom gewees. Dan vir Brett, gereeks. Dankie vir elke hospitaal besoek, elke oproep, elke boodskap, van al daar op dit. Maak nie saak wat ek was nie. Gereelde incheck, sit jy maak Netflix en stif, want as jy nog een plaak recht te maak of ding, dan sit jy maak jylle brand die huis maak nie. Dankie vir die redings rond my vandaag, die diens, al die werk achter die skerms, en wat niemand dit wendag af sien. Jy het ons soveel gedoen, dit ons sonder om erkenning te soek. As familie wil ons vandag vir jou dankie sê, en ons waardeer jou baie. En my laaste, allemaal, die Sumit ook genoeg dankie. Baie dankie vir die vrou wat hom vir my opa was. Dankie vir ons liefde, geduld, omgeen op opverings. Dankie dat hom altyd langsom gestaan het. Nooit was iets te veel of te zwaar. Nooit het allemaal opgegeen. Hulle sê dit pas achteraf gesterk, maar staan daar nog een sterke vrou. En vandaag wil ek sê, dis ware woorde daar. My opa kon nie die besonderse man gewees het, maar hy was sommer die vrou en sy nie. Vandaag eer ons nie net sy lewe nie, maar ook die liefde, kracht en toewijding, waar my oma hom aan die kant ondersteun. Dankie.
Thank you, everybody. Food will be served shortly. And if anybody feels they want to say a few words, please come on up, grab the mic, and the floor is yours. So, grab a drink, relax, and enjoy the day with us. And thank you again for all of you for being here.
Right, let's get it. Absolutely, absolutely. Please do one. Mate, let's go. Druk Eddie.
My naam is Johann. Ek is 'n vriend. Ek het is nie so naam met Johann weer my ander vriend wat sy swaar is aan my linkerkant. En die Kim. Ek dink ek wil net gou met julle 'n lighartige storie deel van Johann. Ek het nie baie saam met hom gekuier nie. Ek dink ons het by so 3, 4, 5 geleenthede wat ons saam was. Maar ek wil hierdie met julle deel, want ek en Dirk het in my linkerkant sit en net so van 'n genaak na die straat en dit was my vreeslik amusant dat ek nou gaan vertel vir julle. Ons het gebly in die Kaap. Johann en Marie het gebly daar in Platte Kloof so oorkant die daar die kliniek. Dirk kom kuier by ons. So ons, ek dink het was 'n Sondagmiddag En druk sê, jong, ons moet by my swaar dat hy gaan maak. Excuse. En ek sê baie bly, hy sê, nee, hy het ons so 3 kilos van daar af. So ons gaan so toe, Johann en Annemarie ontvang ons, ek dink, dis waar ek vir Johann ontmoet het. En ons net gegaan en gaan hallo sê. En so het ons maar gesit en drankie gedrink en Johann spog nogal en hy sê, maar nee, julle hom is van whisky. So Johann maak vir ons een Johnny Walker green label. Maar julle weet hoe so werk hy kleren van die Johnny Walkers, dis nou, die green label is nou bietjie fancier, is die swart, net so onder die goud, of boek in die goud. In elk geval, en hy is baie spoggerig op hierdie fancy bolle whisky wat hy van ons maak. En so sit ons het nog net gegaan en hallo te sê. En die mense daar sê, Johann, hy sê van Annemarie haal vlees uit. En Annemarie haal vlees uit, en hy steek 'n vuur aan, en daar sit die 3 manne, ek, Dirk en Johann by die vuur. En so spog hy steeds met die ooste. En in die braaierij, iewers langs die pad, ek dink ek omdat jy dit sê, of sal ek dit maar nou vertel. So nou braai ons, en ons drink die green label. En eventueel val van die vlees in die grond, en Johann kyk so en sê, vrouwen sien ons nie hier nie. En ek pak het terug op die rooster, en wat ek nou eindelijk wat die kort en lang van dit, ons middag klaargemaak, lekker geëet, toe ons daar weg is, toe staan sy Johnny Walker Green dol leeg. Die 3 van ons drink sy fancy whisky. En hy sê nog aan van ons, wees like manne, ek het nog een fancy whisky. En hier het julle my fancy whisky leeg gemaakt. En dit is wat ek van Johann onthou. Daai was van die vreeslik ambisante ding. En ek en Dirk spog tot vandag toe. Ons het Johann sy fancy whisky uitgedrink en sy vlees op die grond val.
That sounds right.
Seid ihr uns was?
Sorry? Sorry? On top? You're a motherfucker.
Ja, heel dit vooral.
I want to tell a story quickly. So we had the privilege of taking Dad and Annemarie ging nog goed aan, took them to New York. They came to stay with us in London and we decided we're going to take them to New York. We went down to Miami and Florida. Willie Maypaw is a stat like I see 5 stick. So we go out and we decide we're going to go on a bus tour. You know, like the red buses? Except for Paul Trekker, by Johann. Ons is reg langs die see, jy weet nie. Nee. Hy het so maar dat jy koele bokse met 'n pak, dus alles nie maar. And he just had this little waistcoat, that little body warmer. So, he's standing in a long queue to go to the Statue of Liberty. Long queue, there's like 200 people. Dad decides, no, he's not standing in a long queue. He just walks to the middle. And he just stands with his back in front of the people and he starts talking. And the next thing we're all there and we in the queue. We're not standing fair. So then we leave and we get onto the red bus and we're on our way around New York. Listen, it's freezing cold. We are sitting on that bus. Ons kry so koud, man. Dad would stop the bus and decide we're going to go eat down. We're just 1 block away from the hotel. Dad says, ek kry nou so koud, man. As ek nou net dan sal ek hom met afbreek en weggooi. God, it was.
Thank you.